What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with, excuse me, it's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, coming at you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, the news you need to know about if you think about buying, selling, or investing here in Northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions about what I cover here today, whether it's the news and the market stats, what I think is going to happen in the area, go ahead and throw them in the comments below. And I'll try and answer them live here on the show. And if it's not live, you're watching the replay, I'll try and come back and answer those questions that you have. This time is for you guys every single week. I pretty much stay up on all this stuff and give it out to you guys just to make it as easy as possible for all your real estate related news here once a week. So I've actually been MIA past couple weeks. Unfortunately, but I'm back, and I'm thinking about switching this to an 8 a.m. show, because having this at the end of the day, maybe it's better for people. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But for me, I think it would be better if it was at 8 a.m. I don't know. Maybe like a morning news type of thing. But either way, let's go ahead and we'll start off with the market stats. I'm going to go and share my screen here. Let's see. It looks like I'm missing. There we go. Okay. So I was pulling some stats here earlier, just looking at a couple of things. I thought you guys might find this interesting. So this might have to reload here. Let's see, wrong one. Okay, boom. And so this was, I'll just cover this one real quick. This was Duval County. So just taking a look at the median sales price in Duval County, down 1.3% compared to this time last year. That doesn't really, make me think that the sky's falling or anything. 1.3% is nothing. This is typically a slower point of the year. But I didn't really see any problem with that number, especially because that can be skewed because it's just the median sale price. So we could just have a whole bunch of really low sales that month that really drug this price down. But that doesn't bother me too much. Let's see here. The one statistic I did find really interesting, now this is only for Duval County, and was the amount of closed sales that they've had. And let's see, this is by months. This is a little harder to see, but let's do yearly. No, we'll do yearly, full year. There we go. And this is a really interesting, graph. So these are all the closed sales during that calendar year. So this far we only have till the end of this year, but we're at 25,000 closed sales for the year. And you can see this is where we had our peak in December of 2021, where things were just bananas. We had 36,000. So good clip more, 12,000 more than what is selling here today. But a lot of people think like the market's not moving, things aren't happening. But like it's really pretty much on par with what it was. We're 3,000 different than 2017. We had 27,000 homes. So 3,000 is a big swing. You would think that there'd be more closings here, especially because there are more people in the area, especially since this point in time here. So I was expecting this number to be slightly higher, but it's nothing that I'm really concerned about. So sorry, it reads different here for whatever reason, so I'm not sure if you can really see it by my cursor. That number says 25,196, and then this number says 24,269. So I'm not exactly sure why that's off. But let's take a look at, all right, this saved as this anyway. Let's take a look at just St. Johns County, which is why, this is like the main market I service. We service all the northeastern Florida area, Duval County, Putnam County, and Flagler County. But St. Johns County is where I live. It's my main market. But let's take a look at the median sale price here. We got 484,747, up 1% from 480 last year in November. So once again, a 1% move, it's not like, oh, our market's going to start pumping, right? It's not that. Our market is really flattened out pretty good. But I know there's a lot of like this, the news really is selling fear, of course, of like the sky is falling, things are bad. And that's just not the case from what I can see here. I also think, this is something that we'll talk about a little bit more, it correlates very much so with the change in interest rate, right? So you can see like once interest rates started to pick up pretty good, 5.5%, and they jumped so quickly. This between December 2021 and June 2022. Such a good clip that it really kind of gut checked the market, and then they continue to go up to there. where we saw 7.62%. I know it hit 8% at one point in October. That's probably the average for the month. And then, our market hasn't exactly, it's kind of flatlined, I guess you can see, but as year over year in this month, we've been up 1%. So, and that's kind of what we've been seeing over the past couple months and weeks as I've been doing this. But let's take a look at that same statistics here. Closed sales. I might have messed this up. I'm going to hide the mortgage rate. Year, full year. So, once again, another thing not to be too shocked about. So, total closed sales this year, it says 6476 up there. I have 6701 down here by the cursor. So really, we're just right back to where it was in like 2018, 2019 time. Like it's not too much different. 2017 we saw 6171. So like these were recovery years really from the great, really things started picking up around 2012. But these are the recovery years really. So I don't see anything here that's telling me like, hey, this is bad. The world's ending. Sell everything. Buy gold. So let's just take a look at days on market here quick, and then we'll go on to the next thing. So this is, I gotta change this here. Let's do monthly, sorry. There we go. All right, so as you can see, we got some peaks and valleys here. So, which is what you should see, every single year you're gonna kind of see this kind of trend. You're just gonna go, January, we have 63 days on market. Then we get towards the summer months and it starts going down. Then we get towards the winter months, starts going up and up and down and up and down. We go amongst the roller coaster. These are obviously the COVID years. So to me, this all seems very normal. We'll keep an eye on days on market as we head into the new year. I imagine it's going to go higher. I imagine it'll probably go, this isn't the same as trading, but I imagine it'll go, probably around 72 just with the trajectory of it as of right now. So, all important stuff, guys. It's a little boring, right? I don't want to bore you guys. Any questions about what we got here? Well, let me know. But I think we also, we can't continue without talking about the federal funds rate cut, right? So let me see here. I'll pull this up. Share my screen. So Jerome Powell came out and the Fed cut interest rates and markets plunge after 2025 forecasts. So the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by a quarter point, 25 basis points. Its third reduction this year, but suggested only 2 more reductions next year as inflation lingers. So that's not exactly what people wanted to hear. They wanted to hear that there was going to be more rate cuts so that borrowing money becomes cheaper. But that is not what the Fed is saying they're going to do. Now, this is a moving target, guys, right? So the Fed is trying to make adjustments and they're looking at things every single month. One of the main indicators is going to be the unemployment rate. Another main indicator is going to be inflation. So if they're looking at that and they're saying like, hey, we had to raise rates to battle inflation, and then inflation is being sticky, they're not going to lower rates as dramatically as we all thought they would, because we all thought inflation would just disappear. It hasn't. Still, things are a little bit more expensive. To understand inflation, it's a year-over-year metric. So like prices are always continuously going up. It's just how much at one point. There was a point of inflation where we had 9% hikes in pricing, right? So like that was obviously a big gut check to a lot of Americans because the cost of everything went up, right? But I don't think it's ever going back down. I think that's an important thing to note when we're talking about this inflation target. But they want to get down to around 2%, but it seems to be lingering a little bit higher than what they want. So they're signaling that, hey, we're only going to drop 2 times this year. Now, they said, I think initially this year they were going to drop 6 times, and they only did 3. So what happens is obviously always a changing dynamic every single month. All I can do is inform you on what's going on. They're going to keep an eye on inflation, unemployment. We'll see how it looks in the new year when the next Fed meeting happens. And then we'll see what they do with the federal funds rate then. Federal funds rate is going to directly affect the cost of borrowing money. The 10-year Treasury bond and mortgage rates, 30-year mortgage rates, tend to kind of dance with each other. About a point, I think it's 1.4% difference of what you'll see. So if you see a lower 10-year Treasury, you could almost expect mortgage rates to be lower that day. In return of this the backlash to the market was the market, interest rates went up. So the treasury bonds went up and mortgage interest rates went up. So not exactly ideal because they want more cuts. But we'll see what happens here in the future. Once again, it's a rolling metric, so they're going to keep an eye on inflation. If inflation starts to do better, maybe they make more cuts. So that 2 cuts goes to 4 cuts or maybe 5 cuts. Who knows? You know, it's very, they're all playing a game. They're all looking at everything every single month. No one can tell the future. So any questions about that kind of stuff, guys? That's getting really, you know, that's kind of getting a little technical. Pretty much past that point, you know, I'm like most people. I don't understand all of it, but I've been learning little by little. So I feel like I have a good sense of what's going on, at least as good as you can be. So what I want to do is then go into the next news stories here, guys. So any questions regarding you know, pricing here in your neighborhood, if you're watching locally, if you're looking to move to a certain neighborhood, we can pull all that kind of information for you, just so you know what's going on in terms of like how hot that market is. Because even though we showed the days on market here in the area being 65 days, which is not a long time to sell a home, there are certain neighborhoods that are doing better. There are certain neighborhoods that are doing worse, right? That is just an average across St. Johns County. So keep that in mind. We'll go ahead and take a look at the next news story here. So we always like to try and go like national. So we did already talk about the federal funds rates. That affects everyone here. Then we're going to go down to Florida as the state, and then we'll do our local stuff here. So these are the top 10 housing hotspots for 2025. None are in Florida. So Florida seems to be getting a lot of bad rap on the news here lately. But 4 out of the top 10 spots are located in the South. And this is what the National Association of Realtors is expecting. Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts. So yeah, Massachusetts to Boston area. Charlotte, Concord, Gastonia, the North Carolina, South Carolina area. Grand Rapids, Kentwood, Michigan. Greenville, Anderson, South Carolina, which is amazing how much you can get for a home in there. It really is. Hartford, East Hartford, Middletown, Connecticut. Indianapolis, Carmel, Anderson, Indiana. Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas. Knoxville, Tennessee. The Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler area in Arizona. And then San Antonio, New Braunfels, Texas. So I'm surprised Jacksonville's not on that list. I really am. I would think that Jacksonville would be on that list because it's still very affordable, as you guys saw. Still, I think, $90,000 below the median average in the United States. Wages are catching up, so, and we're starting to see more companies move here. So I'm kind of surprised they're not on there. Maybe they're top 20. Who knows? But we'll see. We'll see how the area does here when we're not the hottest house. I think we're like 4 or 5, or like 4 of 10 for the last like 2-3 years. So I think we could take some time off the top spots. I don't think anyone would be too opposed to that. Let's see here. Mary, let's see. We got some questions here. Let me answer some questions. How's the condo market? I don't hear the horror stories here in northeastern Florida. Yeah, so the condo market, it has I did a video on it just recently, like a month ago. So the condo market has taken a hit in general across the entire state of Florida. Just to give you guys a little background, what she's talking about is in reference to the condo collapse that happened in Surfside a couple years ago. So now there's been new legislation put into place. Essentially, any condo buildings that are 3 stories or more have to get an engineering report if they're within a certain amount of distance to the coastline, depending on their age. So I think it's like you don't need a report up until 20 years old, and then at that point, depending on where you are, there's a certain time frame of when you need to have your condo engineering report put in. So essentially, this is a building inspection on everything that's 3 stories and above in the state of Florida. That's amongst insurance problems that we've been having in the state of Florida, which has already raised HOAs a pretty good bit. And if you ever had to have an engineer come out to your house, I mean, just to get them in the door is going to cost you $1,000. So multiply that times a 400 unit condo complex, it's going to be a pretty penny. At the end of this year, all of the condo complexes were supposed to have this study done and the report, and everything should have been changed within their HOAs. So that is on a case-by-case basis in terms of if they've done that yet. They have till the end of the year, you know. Well, probably most of them are going to wait till the last minute. So in our area, insurance is not nearly as bad as in the rest of the state of Florida. I amazing graph somewhere I'd have to dig up where it really shows like the increase of insurance premiums. Here in northeastern Florida, we don't tend to get as hot. We don't tend to get hit with as many hurricanes. Only 4 have made landfall here in St. Johns County in the past 124 years. So we have a different building code than we do for the rest of Florida. So we're kind of insulated unless you're on the water from these insurance issues. There still are problems with premiums increasing, but just trying to give you the backstory here for a question. Typically our condo market's around 10% of our entire market in terms of sales. We've seen that kind of drop to like 8.5%. I think it was between 8 and 9% if I remember correctly from the video I did. So we have seen that drop a good bit, and it's typically the condos where their fees are not the most expensive that are selling the best. So it really depends on your situation, where you're at, and what building you're in and all that kind of stuff. There's tons of factors that go into that. But our condo market demand has kind of softened for it. But once again, without knowing more about your situation, it's hard to say. Hope that gave you like a generalized idea of that. Gotcha. Okay, so we just had some spelling corrections. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the condo market's falling off the map, but once again, it really depends on what building you're in, what are your fees in your condo, have they done that study already? Are you above 3 stories? Does this even apply to you that I talked about? There's a lot of this that goes into it. So if you are looking for some help, just reach out to me directly. I don't think I have, on all my videos I have my contact information. It's out there. But I can put it here as well. I'll put it here. They normally pin it on every video, so I'll put it here as well. If you guys have any questions, it is here. And this, here we go. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to put this up here while we talk about this. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should do that all the time. So either way, let's get on the next news story here, guys. So let us continue. Okay. Oh my God, there's these ads. LPT Realty CEO, Armada owner, eyes brokerage, headquarters move to Jax. So this is Robert Palmer. He runs LPT Realty, which is a cloud-based brokerage, very similar to the Real Broker, which is where I'm at. He also runs Robert Funding. So he does pretty well. I think he also owns the Jacksonville professional soccer team. So they're building a professional soccer stadium in Jacksonville, and he's going to be funding it, obviously. It's his. So he's going to be moving his HQ of that business to Jacksonville, which I think is a pretty interesting change. Downtown Jacksonville is seeing a lot of change these past couple of years. We got a new stadium on the way with the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium. The Four Seasons just went in downtown. They're redoing the north and south bank and making it more accessible, kind of like a park-like Riverwalk type of situation. A lot of money actually seems to be going downtown, whereas before it almost always seemed to like, hey, we have this plan, and then it never went through. But things are on the move, right? And now they're building a soccer stadium, and they're moving their HQ up here. So I think people are seeing the potential in Jacksonville, especially when you're looking at like the location of it, the weather that we have here, you know, especially when you're talking about like natural catastrophes like hurricanes. We really aren't affected as bad as many other areas in Florida, and that's a statistical fact. We don't have to build our homes the same because we don't get hit with the same wind speed. Our homes are cheaper here in northeastern Florida. There's a lot of benefits to this area. It's also beautiful. So this doesn't surprise me, but it's just like another thing, like another notch in the belt of Jacksonville. For why, like in the next 5 to 10 years, it's probably going to be a competing metro with the rest of them in Florida. I would say as of right now, I don't think a lot of people even consider Jacksonville for that, but I think it's pretty sweet. So either way, let's go on to the next news story here, guys. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Boom. Boom. And I did this the other day. I made a video. I think it's like major problems in Florida. Everyone is leaving. Are more people moving out of Florida than in? One study says yes. Now, Atlas Van Lines, so if you ever want some really good data on like migration patterns, they have a really good annual study that they put out. I've referenced it many times. So I believe it's, they got probably some of the best data because they're renting vans to people, right, to move across the country. So what they're saying is that for the first time, the study found that more than 50% of all moves left the state, an 8% increase from 2023. And the first time since 2021, their study found more people had left the state. According to survey data, the main reasons why people left the state were affordability and insurance premiums, 4 times higher than the national average, and extreme weather. So those are all things that we've talked about. And one of the major migratory patterns within the state of Florida for our area are people moving from South Florida. They're moving from like the Miami area to our area because 1, congestion, 2 prices, but 3, the effects of hurricanes. Like we just really don't get hit as hard as everywhere else. So that's the first out of everywhere else in the entire country. Miami is the first people that are like on the list to move here. Very interesting. So I don't find that surprising. I think Florida's changed drastically over the past couple of years. They make it seem like it's a long time. Like this is the first time since 2021. Like it's only a couple of years, of people. And there was a mass migration these past couple of years too. So all fueled by low interest rates and COVID. So interesting to see. Let's see here. Oh, we got any questions here? Oh, I forgot to go live on Instagram. Whoops. Oh well. Either way, let's go on to the next news story here, guys. Man, all these things. Ad Central. All right, so we're going to be winding down here. So any questions here, guys, please let me know. But this is a good thing, and I think this is for they've talked about this in their master plan of like what they want to incentivize more building on the infill lots within already established areas instead of doing more and more master plan communities like the Silverleafs, the River Towns, the Nokatees. They want to start encouraging people to build on lots within an already developed area in order to help with congestion and the growth. So that doesn't say that in this news story, but that's just to give you a background. St. Augustine creates new land development applications to expedite building permits. So essentially, they're modifying their building permit process with a new land development application beginning January 1st, hoping to expedite building permits for residential subdivisions to comply with the new state law. In March, Florida passed HB House Bill 267, requiring municipalities with a population of 30 grand or more to expedite the issuance of building permits for residential subdivisions. According to a news release issued by the city, the new LDA, which is similar to the St. Johns County clearance sheet, was created for the Planning and Building Department to expedite the building permit application process. So they went and asked. They said, "Hey, like, what do you think?" They went to the mayor, and he said, "We don't have a problem with turnaround, so things will remain the status quo. We've never had a timing issue. We've always been ahead of the game. We know that time is money, and we pride ourselves with being the best in the county with permits." So. I don't know if you've built in the city of St. Augustine. I'd love to hear your feedback on what your experience was with the city. But hopefully this helps things out. To my knowledge, I hear it's pretty quick. I'm not a builder. I don't pull permits all the time. But to my knowledge, if you know what to do, you should be okay. But hopefully this helps out and makes it easier not only on builders but on locals that want to build on their own lot and do it themselves. So we'll see. We shall see. Any questions, guys? Fire them off in the comments below. We got 2 more news stories here. Let's see. Yep. Okay. We got 2 more news stories. And this is no surprise to me. Warms winters. This Northeast Florida beach named one of the top snowbird destinations in the United States, which is Crescent Beach. And that's no surprise to me. My grandma lives in Crescent Beach. They originally... my great-grandparents, who are from the New Jersey area, they bought a place in Treasure Beach, which is on the intercoastal side of Crescent Beach. And they did back in the 70s. And my grandparents moved down here, and they visited down here whenever they visited their parents. and is always going to Crescent Beach. But every year, snowbirds travelers 55 and older flee the frigid north for warmer climates. According to a report, 10 snowbird destinations U.S. for under $200 a night, Crescent Beach is 7th on the list, saying that it averages 66 degrees during the winter months and an average nightly stay is $161 per person. Other ideal snowbird locations include Yuma, Arizona, Northwest Corpus Christi, Lakeway, Texas, Honoka, Hawaii, Needles, California, and Foley, Alabama. So that's no surprise to me. Crescent Beach is pretty sweet. It's a lot, you're just south of like St. Augustine Beach, so you have the access to go into St. Augustine Beach, go into downtown if you want a little bit more liveliness. But you're kind of south on the island, so you kind of stay away from a good bit of like the tourism and stuff. Not that there isn't tourists staying in short-term rentals there, but it's just a little different, I would say. It's a lot slower of a pace. So that doesn't surprise me at all. All right, on to the next news story here, guys. This is the last one for the night, and we'll call it a night. But like we talked about this before, in terms of the St. Johns County Vision Plan, the St. Augustine Vision Plan, they want your input. They had the meeting this morning, though. This news article was put out like 6 hours ago. It's kind of frustrating. On Wednesday morning, a public meeting was held to discuss things as potential changes to the Land Development Code addressing flood prevention. 3 citizen boards were attending: the Planning and Zoning Board, Historical Architecture Review Board, and the Corridor Review Committee. The good news is that you can still take an online public input survey until December 22. So you can get your voice heard on what's going on in regards to potential changes to the Land Development Code addressing flood prevention, which is a big deal in certain parts of the city for sure. So if you are having flood issues because of some of the development and all that kind of stuff, this is probably something that you want to be at. So let's see here, guys. I got no more questions. Awesome. Well, 10 people on here. Really appreciate you guys being here tonight. I'm going to call it a night. What do you guys think about moving this to 8 a.m.? I kind of want to move it to 8 a.m. because if I'm not, let's say I'm doing something and then I'm done at like 5 and I want to cut it for the day, I'm like, oh wait, I have to work at 7 o'clock to get prepared for 8 o'clock, and then I have to work another hour after that. So either way, I'm thinking maybe moving it to the morning so I can just kind of regulate my day. Would you guys watch it at 8 a.m.? Let me know in the comments below. All right, either way, guys, I'll see you next week. Wait, next week is that Christmas? I may not see you next week. One second, let me double check. Oh yeah, next week is Christmas. I might do a holiday one. Put a Santa hat on or something. I don't know. One cool thing, I'll show you guys this real quick. I have it on my desk. My buddy 3D prints stuff. I'm not even a Deadpool fan, but he gave it to me as like a wedding. I was one of his groomsmen. But 3D printed this mask. I broke it already. Literally within a day of me getting it, I snapped the front of it. Don't know how I did it, but how cool is this? 3D printed. The quality is insane. Like, look at it. Almost looks like leather, and it feels strong. Obviously, it's not. You can see the crack there. But how cool is that? Either way, share something a little cool that I got. But hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Maybe. I don't know. We'll keep it up. It's Christmas. Who knows? But have a good one, guys. Any questions, I'm here for you. All my contact information's right here. It's also on pretty much every other video. So talk to you soon. Have a good one.